Hello, beautiful. Welcome to my informal but formal channel. This is really exciting. Starting a new chapter, starting a new venture. Please know that I am raw and unfiltered. These videos are not going to be edited. They are coming to you how I am with you. So you're probably going to hear my kids, my cat, possibly my neighbors, possibly a wonky desk shuttering the cameras. But this is really important, and I'm really excited to bring this to you. And I want to talk about the astrology as a language to understand your children. And this is so important for parents who want to understand their children on a deeper level, on a more intimate level, on an emotional level, on a spiritual level, on a communicative level, and understanding how the little humans operate. And it is a contemplative way of being. It's not set in stone. It is not, she has this, so then she must be that. No, we are all unique. We all have free will. And I really want to bring this forward because it has helped me so much as a parent and also as a wife. So, as we go on deeper into talking about this in the coming weeks, I'm going to be talking about, relationships and marriage and other people in your life and understanding part of their dynamics and just being curious as to why they do certain things or have their patterns. And we can deeply love someone and not fully understand them. And this is what I want to bring forward. And so I've got my little notes here in front of me because I want to make sure that I touch base on a few things. And I tend to ramble and I tend to get too excited and I tend to forget. So astrology isn't about being any one person. It isn't about being stuck inside of a box. Just because you have a Libra sun, it doesn't mean that you have to be so social and outgoing. You have other placements in your chart that are also going to impact that sun, the identity, right? And so I've got my cacao here. So I will be taking sips of that as we go along. But I want to speak openly about certain things. This isn't a teaching, this is more of getting your mind going and being curious. So if you want to take notes, grab a pen on little things that you might pick up that I say that you want to go and have a look at within your child's chart to help you understand them more. And so we can have really big themes in our charts, and your children can have really big themes and prominent themes that stick out in their chart. And I invite you to start small, to just be curious on their top three, their sun, their moon, and their rising. And of course, I've gone a little deeper into my children's chart because that's what I'm here to do. And so there are going to be certain things that really, really stick out to you, right? So you might have a child that has, a double aura and a fire. So what I mean by that is their sun and their moon are water, but they have a fire rising. And so they can be quite an emotional person. They can feel a lot. They're attuned to others quite a lot, but they also have that fiery energy, right? But sometimes that water can go over the fire and put the fire out. And so it's understanding that they might have these aspects, fighting against, but how can we help support them in bridging both worlds, right? You can be emotional and connected, but you can also have a fire in your belly to actually do things, to succeed at things. We can often put kids in certain labels and they mold themselves to a label. And we have to be really mindful of that label and help them see that they can be this and they can be that, and they can be all of these things put together as one human being because we are all human beings. And I think that's the one lesson that I have learned over my 40 years of life is that we are all human having a human experience. And just because you might have a placement in a certain area, it doesn't mean that you can't be a fiery person. It doesn't mean that you can't be an emotional person. We just relate to it in different ways, if that makes sense. And so you might have a child that is, let's say, double air and water. So they might have a sun and a moon in an air sign, and they might have a water rising. So you might notice that they might be, you know, a little bit more, they might just absorb, they might just take in information, they might just watch their surroundings. It might look like they're airy fairy and off with the stars. And yeah, of course, that's going to be true sometimes because fellow air sign here that I go off in my little dreamland. So just noticing, what are they doing? Are they actually absorbing in a different way? Are they actually thinking and processing in their mind? Because I know with kids, when we have a drink, because I know with kids, we can really look at them like they should be doing certain things. And I know that the internet has really changed the way that a lot of us parent these days. And we're a bit more open to parenting in different ways. And we want to understand our children, and we know we don't want them to fit inside of a box. But yet we can also have our own healing and our own deconditioning to do, right? And so knowing that if a part of what your child is doing or how they're behaving or what they're not doing is triggering something within you, then that gets to be a set point of being curious as to what's going on inside of you. Where are you feeling attacked? Where are you feeling, I guess, maybe some shame? And these set points are also showing you your shadow, parts of you that you have had to repress. So I know for some of us that have children who look like they're off with the stars or have so many ideas and don't put them into motion, that's the air sign. And so what happens is we've grown up in a society that doesn't really acknowledge or support people who are like that because they're not getting things done, they're not being overly productive, and we can overcompensate, right? And we can feel perhaps embarrassed as a parent that our child is not doing all of these things and being all of these things because society and the conditioning that we have been raised in has taught us that we must be productive, we must be doing something, we must have a calendar full, we must be doing all of these things. And for some of us, that is not aligned. For some of us, we are here to do life differently, to lead life differently. And that goes the same for your child. Maybe they are actually here to lead a little differently. And this is where we get to celebrate their uniqueness and understand their chart and the time that they were born and the planets that are coming into their houses and their sun and their moon, their rising, their Saturn placement. Do they have stelliums? Do they have anything that's amplified? Do they have challenging aspects? What aspects flow? And the more that you understand this about your child, you can subtly help them because we both know that children actually will tend to fight against us, particularly between the ages of, 10 to 40. They're going to think they're right, and they are right. Of course, they are right. They are right for them. And so, this is where we get to decondition our process and what we've been doing. And I know a lot of us millennials, in that, 40 odd, are really starting to look at how they were parented really doesn't suit the way they want to parent. And so, an aspect that I have been using for myself is astrology and understanding. If your child has an eighth house, still I've got my children, I've got my cat here, my children, my cat. If your child has an eighth house stellium, the eighth house is death, rebirth, transformation. It is the occult. It is the psychic abilities. It is the deep feeling, the sensory, the one that goes very internal. And depending on what planet's sitting in there, and then going into what they're aspecting, understanding your child's eighth house and knowing that they're going to go internal to process, you know how to support them without making it so obvious. Because the moment we make things obvious, the moment they're going to rebel. And so, by you understanding that they have such a prominent placement and they have big things going on in that eighth house, you can know how to support them and have conversations with them and open up things very gently and lightly with them so you can better support them and they feel supported by you. It's not allowing them to, I guess, do things in a toxic way or misbehave, but it's opening up the channel for conversation. It's opening up that portal that we're here to change because we're changing things. So they're going to experience a whole different dynamic at home. And it's going to be their normal. And their normal is going to ripple out to their children. And it's going to go on. And so when we are tied to the good girl archetype as a mother, we can tend to want our children to behave in good ways, do good things, not be loud, don't be speak and don't speak rude. But in saying that, our children get to be expressed. They get to be expressed in respectful ways. We still have to respect one another and do things and interact and have conversations about that. But it doesn't mean that we have to shut our child down and they be attached to the good girl persona where they feel that they're only going to be liked and loved if they do, good things, if they get the good grades, if they don't argue back, if they don't question, if they don't, if they sit in the corner and they're seen but not heard. And I know that it's a push and a pull for us parents, but it's like, yes, but they need to have a little bit of respect for their surroundings. And yeah, of course, absolutely, 100%. But they also get to be expressed on the other hand. So it's like that push-pull dynamic. And when we're feeling really triggered and really reactive to them and we're outwardly expressing that with them, we are activated within our own nervous system and what's going on inside of ourselves. And so understanding that sometimes we are coming from a reactive place because we haven't done our own healing journey. Something within us is activated, and it's our job to be curious on what's going on, understanding our own emotional language and how we process things because we are human beings as well. And so knowing that we can decondition and we can start to lead the way by you first also understanding yourself and also understanding your child Because what I'm noticing a lot in these type of modalities is we're focusing a lot on ourselves, which is really, really, really important. But there's a missing element, there's a missing piece of our children and understanding their chart and our partners too, which is going to be for another video. But understanding our partners and our children and understanding certain placements and, helping them rise, their rising sign, their ascendant sign, and opening up conversations. It's not about forcing them. It's just about opening up conversations. It's about you doing the work and learning about yourself out in the open. And then they're going to be curious. Like you leading. It doesn't, and I get stuck in this too. And we can't force them to be someone according to their chart. They're going to have their own values, their own perceptions. Two people living in the same house are going to have very different experiences of their childhood. And so understanding that we're all doing the best with what we have and knowing how we can hold them in that by understanding certain placements in their chart, because someone's going to be more of a deep body feeler. Someone is going to potentially be more curious in their mind and thinking about things, and they don't want to answer straight away. They want a moment to process. That's the air sign. They need to balance things out. And so understanding their sun, their ego, their identity, the ego identity, the core of things, understanding their moon. How are they processing their emotions and how are they going through life? And often it's spoken that the child's moon represents you as the mother, and that can be a really triggering thing to look at. But it also shows us where maybe we can clean up a little bit of the mess and we can start doing the inner work. And so there's nothing you need to do but to observe before we correct or react to certain things, to certain situations. What will change if I just observe rather than react? And that's all this is. It's just noticing patterns. Astrology is a very pattern recognition system, and some things you're going to resonate with, and some things you are not. The things you don't resonate with, you might not feel connected to it till later on in life, or not at all. This is all about free will. And there's some placements in my chart that I don't really relate to, but there's certain reasons why that is. And so just be curious. Start to notice your surroundings. Slow down and really, really start to pay attention to certain things about your child. And thank you so much for being here. I'm going to wrap this up here. If you have any questions, please pop them in the comment box below and I can create more videos on it, because this is such an interesting topic that I don't see many people talking about. Well, there probably is, but I haven't seen them in my world. So really start to contemplate certain things, how your child responds to certain emotions. Notice what elements are really strong in their chart. Are they really strong in their fire energy? Are they really strong in their water energy? Because you can just leave it. It is what it is. You don't need to change them. You can just support them.